I want you to open your mind for today's video. Take this guy's advice.
Open your mind.
Remember all the way back in Scream 2022 when Dewey was reintroduced? He's watching Gale Weathers' morning show aired from New York City. The scene was placed in the film to show us the current relationship status between Gale and Dewey, but it also teased the location of the next film, New York City. No, college was not the setting of the sixth entry as some folks claim. It was merely a catalyst to get our characters from point A to point B, Woodsboro to New York City. With the recent announcement of Scream 7, I've been asking myself, what is point C? Well, today we may finally have an answer to that question. Let's get into it.
Well, sometimes that is better.
First of all, before we get into all of this, I want to thank Critical Overlord for sending me over some of these Scream 6 script pages. You f***ing rock, man. After Detective Bailey, Quinn, and Ethan get revealed to be the killers in Scream 6, I probably should have said spoiler alert, this movie is relatively new. Detective Bailey then goes on a rant about why he's killing Sam and all of her friends, because they killed Richie Kirsch, who's actually his son this whole time. Now, there was actually more additions to this whole rant in the original Scream 6 script. Let's talk a little bit about them. After Bailey spells out his entire plan to Sam, she asks, and then what? When you're done with us, you just disappear? Detective Bailey's original response to this was different than what we got in the Scream 6 movie. In the script, it reads, no, then we go to the hospital to make sure Mindy and Gale don't pull through. Then we're going to fly to Seattle and pay Sydney a visit. Carve her little girls up in front of her. Because everyone dies, Sam. Everyone who had anything to do with the death of my son suffers and dies. Oh my god, Detective Bailey, chill the f*** out. That's super vicious. I wish they kept that in. But why did they take it out? Is it simply because, wow, that's way too vicious for a Scream movie, or are they trying to hide something about the next film? I'm gonna go with the latter there, because one of Scream 6's main goals was to be this punk rock redheaded stepchild that is just completely different from the other films in this franchise. It was darker, meaner, bloodier, and bigger. So that line doesn't necessarily feel out of place. Maybe it would in something like Scream 3, but here, that would have totally worked. The reason I feel like that was cut from the script is because they tease a certain location there, Seattle. If the Kirsch family had been successful in Scream 6, they might have actually done this in a Scream 7 theoretically, but could the film still go there in the next entry? I think so. Presumably, this is where I think Sydney may be hiding, out in the woods outside of Seattle somewhere. If you've ever been to Seattle, they have a lot of trees there. They're actually known for their lumber. And they're also known for hiking trails and cabins in the woods. You know, where people could potentially die out in the middle of nowhere. Might not be very good cell reception out there though, so Ghostface is gonna have to get creative. Many of us have been pitching for a while that they wanted to see Ghostface in the snow. This would also be ample opportunity to do such a thing. There's a simple setup here that could lead to all of the surviving characters, or well, at least all of the characters they want in this upcoming Scream film, to all go out to Sydney's cabin, wherever the heck it is. I think the way that they should do this is they should kill a returning character in the opening scene. Now, I've been very on the fence about this because this could go one of two ways. It could be great, or it could be like, I don't know about that. I'm looking at you, Terminator Dark Fate. I don't want none of that in the Scream universe. That movie turned me off immediately because they killed John Connor in the opening scene. What? On Watch Mojo's top 10 list of worst movie decisions of all time, that's gotta be on there somewhere. I've never been so done with a film during the opening scene, and then the rest of it is not much to write home about either. So if they're going to kill a legacy returning character of any variety, it's gotta be something that's going to work and not totally interrupt the plot. Like, you can't kill Sam or Sydney in the opening scene. That would be way too much. They have to kill someone that's going to affect everyone in the circle, like all the people they want, legacy characters, core 4 alike. And I think there's one character like that they could have in the opening scene. Sweet old Martha Meeks. Now, if we get an opening scene that takes place in Woodsboro with Martha at home and she's chilling out or whatever, gets a call from Ghostface and she gets killed, immediately there we can establish a motive for Ghostface, but it also gets all of our characters who are directly involved with that out into the middle of the woods with Sidney Prescott, hopefully. It's the mom of 2 of the characters from the core 4 and also someone that Sidney Prescott and Gale Weathers both know. It's literally Randy's sister, like, yeah. Now look, you could probably just kill Tara and come to the same conclusion. Well, hey, we need to hide somewhere, Ghostface is back. But I just think it would be a little bit of a softer blow to kill someone like Martha, who's not as much of a standout character as some of these other people are. Not to say that Martha's not a good character, but we've only seen her in 2 scenes out of 6 films. I don't think it would be too heartbreaking to lose her in the opening. Now you might be thinking, Jake, you're totally overthinking this, man, but once again, I want to harp back on that point about Scream 5 teasing the location of Scream 6. We briefly saw Gale Weathers in New York for her morning show, and then hey, the next film takes place entirely there. Now with these pages of of the script we've just uncovered, we now know that there are 2 lines from Scream 6 that indicate where Sydney is. So could that be the location of the next film? We have Gale Weathers early on in the film saying that, oh, Sydney's fine, she's hidden away somewhere with her family, it's gonna be all good with her, don't worry about her. But then we have Wayne Bailey here saying that he knows exactly where she is. That's an interesting little piece of information. How does he know? Could another Ghostface out there potentially know, perhaps? I think so. In my opinion, that's the reason that line was cut, because it would have been a little too obvious as to where they're going next. Now that we've cut the line about Seattle in the previous film, you can only let your imagination wander, or be like, well, I don't know where we're gonna go next. New York City again? Which, honestly, I wouldn't be against, but being trapped in the middle of the woods with Ghostface, that's really interesting and something we've yet to see in this franchise. I want to see that dynamic. It's different than, suburban Woodsboro, or New York City, Windsor College, Hollywood. I want to see something a little smaller with Scream. That could be really fun, considering that a big problem with the franchise right now, in my opinion, is that it's getting a little too big for its britches. I loved the grandiose setting of the previous film, but why not do something entirely different, almost the opposite for the next film? A small cabin in the Seattle area somewhere where maybe Sydney's hiding out with her family again. The core 4 are along for the ride as well, even though maybe Sydney's not a big fan of that because she cares more about her babies than some strangers, especially the daughter of the first killer. Yeah, I don't know how happy she's gonna be about that. That could be a really interesting power dynamic there. Now, even though I love the idea of Sam going Ghostface in the next film, I promised I wouldn't talk about it anymore because, oh my god, I've made so many videos about that. Something I do want to pitch though is that what if we do this cabin in the woods thing, and then Sidney Prescott starts to think that maybe Sam Carpenter is the killer? There's already some tension between these two characters as we saw in Scream 5, even though yes, they kind of resolved that towards the end of the film. I can imagine though that when Sidney's kids are involved in all of this mess, she gets a little more paranoid, especially towards, once again, the daughter of the killer from the first movie. The one that Sidney probably has the closest relationship with. You can say Roman is the answer to that question all day, but she never knew she had a secret brother. She dated Billy for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden, bam, I'm the guy that killed your mom. What? That, in my opinion, is the most heartbreaking Ghostface for her. But Jill makes a strong case too. That's a tough one. Either way, I could totally see her being a little paranoid about Sam and maybe going after her at one point, which would be really interesting to see that power dynamic there, this paranoia between the two groups, essentially. It could be commentary on how some people only like the legacy characters, some people just like the core 4, some people like both, but there is definitely more of a divide. It's a Scream movie after all, you gotta have a little meta commentary. Now, although we're doing something different with the setting, we can push that even further, in my opinion. If this was a snowy set Scream movie, let's say it's sometime around December, January, early in the year, late in the year, whenever, we can have Ghostface in the snow, which is something I know a lot of fans really want to see. I love slashers in the snow. There are simply not enough of these, obviously because they're harder to film with the weather conditions and all that, but they're so worth it. Wrong Turn 4 has always been one of my guilty pleasure films. I think it is so much fun. It's got a great setting and some horrible characters to kill off. But you get a bunch of kills in the snow, it's easier to see the blood, it's just a little more gruesome for that reason. There's something really creepy about going outside at night during the winter time. It's just a little darker, the snow is kind of sparkling a little bit too. It's just a totally different vibe, which would aid a Scream sequel, in my opinion, that needs to stand out. You can't do Scream 7 at Woodsboro or Hollywood again. It would just be way too similar to previous installments. Let's go Ghostface in the snow at a cabin in the woods, classic horror movie setting. It's almost kind of perfect for a Scream sequel. Obviously, the majority of what I've said in this video is speculation though. Where that point C is actually going to be for Scream 7, no one really knows besides the writers at the moment. What do you guys think the location for Scream 7 will be though? Will we go to an isolated cabin in the woods, maybe the big city again? New York in the snow? I'm not against that either. That would be a lot of fun too. Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this brand new video talking all about Scream 7. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you want to see this page grow. The link for that is in the description of this video. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all. Peace!